Hello and welcome, everyone. Very excited to have all of you here and looking forward to today's conversation. I am going to click for each of you to be able to talk. And the reason for that is the intention behind this conversation is to make sure it's very, very interactive. One thing that's super exciting about this conversation today is the new competency model that was sent out by the ICF. Very specifically, the second competency that is now cited by the ICF is embodies a coaching mindset. And within that competency, subpoint number 3 says develops an ongoing reflective practice to enhance one's own coaching. So I love that. Here we are. And by the way, this is a similar to what we did last year at this time, giving coaches a chance to reflect, renew, and create. It's right in keeping with what our competencies are now as coaches. And so it makes a tremendous amount of sense. Now, I will say, I know a few people signed up specifically wanting to learn about the coach training and the coaching programs. We do have a webinar scheduled later today on coaching certification, and that's where we'll go over that. The focus of this one is just as we put out there in the agenda. It includes reflecting on your year. And by the way, everyone, we want to hear from you. We want to do this as a group and hear everybody's reflections. We're going to look at renewing focus and energy for what you're doing, and of course, creating opportunities. At the end, we'll do a review of resources and have time for Q&A. If you are here wanting to learn more about coaching certification and you're not able to attend the one later today, after this one is over, I am happy to have that conversation. So we can do that. Let's see, I got a question. You're going to launch your coaching business. Is this appropriate? Well, given that having that reflective practice is one of your competencies, I'm going to say yes. I'm also going to say, is the focus here on launching your business? Not necessarily. This is really about learning from what you're doing. If you want information in terms of business and marketing on your coach login page, you have access. We do a free Q&A call every month, and we can talk there. There's also a ton of resources there for launching your business. So hopefully that's answering your question. And by the way, I did set up so that every single one of you can talk. So if you want to unmute yourself and come on live and ask questions, you can do that. Okay, so I am going to move us into the conversation, and I'm going to invite you saying things, talk, and of course you can use the chat. And if you do the chat, ideally send it to everyone so that we can all see what you're saying and hear from you. So the first question we want to throw out is, as you reflect on the past year with your coaching business and your coaching practice, what went well? Who wants to dive in and share? I'm hearing silence out there. Okay, so we got one comment, and you can all see it in your chat box if you open that up. It is that you're getting more requests for your time and services than before, and that is awesome. I really want to ask a follow-up question if you're open to it, and that is, what do you think is behind getting more requests for your time and services? And are you open to jumping in on that conversation?
Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm an internal person with the coaching certificate, and so I've just spent a lot more time tilling the soil and building relationships and having conversations that lead to the help, can you help me kind of conversations. So more foot traffic to my door in terms of career development kind of conversations. How do I support, talent mobility in my team? Those kind of things. But that came out of just patience and more coffees and more, how are things going in your business? And then that led to, well, can you, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And so that kind of helped.
Awesome. That's wonderful. And for everybody else, let's reflect on that reflection. What does that tell us? What does that teach us? To me, something I learned from that, I heard the word patience as being really significant, and having the conversations. Sometimes I think we get impatient. We have a conversation, we want a client right away, and having patience in the process over time. So love that. Thank you for sharing that. Another comment here is gaining clarity on your niche. And again, I'm hoping you're open to jumping in, unmute yourself. You have that control now. And let's talk more about that. So what I'm looking for is, how are you gaining that clarity?
For me personally, just getting ready to launch and not necessarily having those clients, it's just helped to pursue different experiences that relate to my passion and interest and expertise, in realizing as I move forward, really that niche that I want to focus on, and really how I want to help others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. It's, I think one of the big challenges coaches have is, okay, am I supposed to have a niche? Yes or no? And how do I define it? What are your thoughts on that?
On how to define it?
Yeah, whether to have one and how to define it. So I know that's two questions.
I think it's important because the wisdom we gain as we age and as we have experiences really lends a certain connection to others, and really leveraging those skill sets. I feel using your coaching skills around those areas, I think will just have more profound impact.
Yeah. No, I love it. If I build on that, and please everyone jump in wherever you want. I think in terms of defining a niche, when you do that, it helps your focus and it helps you put yourself out there. So you also talked about launching your business, and knowing your niche helps you launch because you know who you're targeting as far as a prospective client. If the niche is undefined, then you're targeting the whole world.
Yeah.
That's pretty tough to do. So defining it helps you know where you're going in terms of who you want to reach out to, who you want to connect with. And I think it also gives you confidence and credibility, because when you say, hey, this is my niche, this is my focus area, you feel good about it, you have that confidence, and you sound more credible.
It sounds counterintuitive, but early in my career, I tried to develop as many skills as I possibly could to be pretty rich and diverse in my offerings. But the more experienced I get, the clearer I am in terms of what I'm good at and what I'm not, and being comfortable in declaring that. And that doesn't actually limit the draw to me and my services. It actually has increased it, because now people know exactly who to go to me, and when not to go to me. So but it felt counterintuitive, right? Why would I narrow my persona and profile and limit? But it actually did the opposite.
Yeah. Thank you for that's so true. Excellent. Excellent. And who else has something to add in terms of what went well for you over the past year? I'm hoping to see more of you click unmute. If I help you with getting somewhere, think about how you were effective as a coach, things you did well as a coach. What went well? Let's see. And please feel free to come on live. We have another comment in the comment box, and it's that this person joined 2 other coaches. You're going to move online, and then you've identified your niche on women's worthiness. So love that. Come in and say more about what went well in that process. I think you're live, so just come on in and talk. I'm not sure. I don't know if you have a microphone attached or not. I'm inviting you to say more. Okay, so you're typing in, so it may be not able to do on the microphone. So you said you just started to develop that process. Right now, you're getting all your ducks in a row. Okay, so that sounds exciting. I'm going to continue and add our next question. And let's hear from more people. What did you learn over the past year? So I'll get all of you started. I had the privilege of going through the PCC marker assessors training and learned so much in terms of even my own coaching, because when you learn how those coaching sessions are assessed for having the credential I have, I learn more about what I'm doing when I coach. So a lot of insight in terms of the PCC markers really demonstrating the competencies and how it becomes a tool for improving my coaching. That was a big one for me. Let's see, we got another one. You completed your CMC this past July. What did you learn when you were completing that?
Oh, so much. I mean, so there was a gap between the CPC and the CMC. And I hadn't been active in practice. So it was a good refresher, and then really, just extended knowledge in all of the areas that we covered. I think really for me, what I really took away from that is really how I wanted to have an impact on the world, and really how I wanted to formulate my niche. I think that the coaching sessions, group and individual, were so invaluable in terms of just really practicing and gaining a skill set from which to build on, and just feeling really confident to move forward and to begin doing it more formally and launching a business.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, so great. Thank you for sharing that. And other learning points. Let's hear from more of you. So here's a bit of a push for all of you. Back to a reflective practice being one of our competencies. What does it do for you as a coach when you take time to think about what you did well, what you learned, and to have a conversation around that? What are your thoughts? There's a good group here, and I'm hearing a lot of silence. And so I'm wondering if that means people are thinking and reflecting. I'm wondering if you're hesitating to share. I'm wondering if you're hoping to hear from somebody else instead. And I'm hoping there is something you've learned in the past year. Who's got something to share about what you've learned? So another comment that you learned that each one of us holds a piece to successfully coach women. And I'm guessing you're talking about the coaches you're working with who felt so broken, and you have so many questions. One of you has the expertise to answer and ask the appropriate questions. Excellent. You know what's so fun about that comment is that the expertise as a coach is about asking the questions and holding the space for people to respond to those questions. Okay. I'm going to throw up the next question, hoping to spark more conversation here. Help me out, everyone. What do you want to change in the coming year? I'll throw out something for me. I know one thing I want to change is making sure I do hold sacred that time for my own reflective practice and my own self-care. I know it's important. I love that it's now in our competency model. And I think it's so important as coaches. I actually believe we have an obligation to self-care and to holding time for our own reflective practices. What else, everyone? Okay, so here's another one. And it's okay that your mic doesn't work. I'm so glad you're putting it in the chat box. And it's being a better listener so you can pick up on what the client is actually saying. I love that. You know what is interesting as I'm reading your comment and thinking about it, I think it's so tied to what I just said. When we take time for self-care and our own reflective practice, we're actually more present to our clients, and it helps us be a better listener so that we pick up on what they're saying. Excellent. And oh, thank you, Lorraine. Jim, if you're willing to come on live, love to have you in the conversation. It's so much fun to get more people than me talking. So, and that, of course, is the intention of today's conversation. So you wrote in more tools to incorporate, like insights. Say more.
Sure. So I'm certified in Myers-Briggs, which I've used and enjoy. This year I went through an Insights program, which I really liked. And next year I'm going to get certified in the Insights tool. I just like the way it kind of takes the Carl Jung ideas and philosophies. And I love Myers-Briggs, but I think Insights is a little bit easier to understand and people can relate to their color. So I'm looking forward to getting certified in that and just having another way to come at personality assessment and personality type.
Yeah, absolutely. I did the DISC certification, of course, because all of us have access to so many different tools on that assessment login that we all have. And I just That's another easy one for people to understand.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I like how that one you can pull team reports.
Right. And as an inside practitioner, usually this is how I get it. Usually starts with teamwork, team dynamics, doing Myers-Briggs, looking at team assessments and stuff like that versus the one-on-one stuff. But yeah,
Right.
insights is another tool hopefully will have in my toolbox this coming year.
Excellent. Now, are you doing group and team coaching as well?
I have done some, and I've done it with my own team, and I've done it with some of the clients that I support internally. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Especially when they're
Yeah.
forming, new leaders, new teams that come together. So it's a good thing to do when they're first forming.
Yes. Yeah. Excellent. Kimberly, you talked earlier about the Master Coach class. In that one, doing the team and group coaching aspect of it and playing with that. Um, and Jim, tell me what you think. I think it expands your practice in terms of what you offer, and offering team and group coaching actually builds your individual client base. And that's true whether you're internal or external.
Yeah, no, that's true. I support a particular line of business, but the intent, and not just my intent, but the organization I work for, is that I'll be a resource to other lines of business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great when you can kind of teach and support your own group, but sometimes it's also better when you can, even though I'm an internal, I'm still the external person to another line of business within an organization. So to kind of teach outside of my particular line of business is a goal of mine and a value to the overall organization, I think.
Nice.
So they'll trust me because I'm one of them, because I'm an employee like they are. But I don't I don't work within their line of business, so I get that external perspective.
Yeah. Oh, love it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting ready. Next week, we have an organization we're going to work with, and we're going to provide coaches for them. And they're actually doing an orientation on the organization itself to help the external coaches get to know the culture
Mm-hmm.
And what's going on there. And so I can see how for you, that's a huge advantage being there.
Yeah, so you want to leverage both, right? So I work for a
Uh-huh.
company. I know the company, I know the culture, but I'm embedded in a line of business. So if I show up to another division or another branch, um, there's some inherent trust, right? Because I have the same ID badge that they do, but I can get away with being the external at the same time.
Yeah, the best practice is actually internal coaches for entry to mid-level, and then external for the highest levels.
Mm-hmm.
So nice. And then if I expand on that, for example, Kimberly, we're talking about launching your business. I think about the group coaching idea as being fabulous. So once you define your niche, for example, if I go to Lorraine's niche that she's talking about, coaching women, uh, she can do a group coaching offering around that particular focus. And it's fabulous because all the people coming to the group have common interest and objectives, so it works. So when you define your niche, it helps you set up group coaching as an opportunity, which helps you build your business. It's all works together. And then Kimberly, you also asked about Strength Finders. Fabulous tool. Similar to Strength Finders is another one called VIA. And probably the main difference, VIA's got some basic assessments that you can use for free. And then you can pay if you want for the more in-depth detailed ones. Both Strength Finders and VIA are, I think, fabulous tools. I know a lot of coaches that use those when it really serves the client. So nice. Okay. So let's throw out some tips on having a reflective practice. And this is so incredibly important. One is talking with colleagues. I think about every time I have the privilege of whether it's coaching somebody, mentor coaching, or simply getting together with colleagues and having a conversation, I learn something. And it's a chance for me to be more aware of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it and what I want to do about that. So I think talking with colleagues is awesome. Another great tool people use is journaling, taking time to really write down, and it gets you thinking and thinking on paper. And then another idea is reviewing your notes from coaching sessions. And then, in addition to notes from coaching sessions, I know a lot of coaches that when they finish a session, will reflect on the session itself and write notes for themselves. And that gives them something that they can go back and reflect on over time. And so it's a fabulous tool. Of course, we can add to this all day long. There's things like meditation practice. I know a lot of coaches use yoga as an opportunity. There are so many ways to have a reflective practice. What are your thoughts and ideas, everyone? Oh, I know I've got a lot of intelligence out there. So do jump in. Kimberly, if you're willing to come in live again, do. The more live discussion we have, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't do any formal meditation, but anytime I take time just to really be with my thoughts and have that silence, because our lives are so busy and we don't often have that opportunity, really makes a big difference. And just slowing down and creating that headspace. And then recently I had a great experience in Mexico at a modern elder wisdom school, which really gave us a lot of tools for reflection and going inside and connecting with ourselves. And nature was a really big part of that. And so I've committed for myself over the next year to get out and enjoy nature and really have that ability to just be present with myself.
Oh, nice. Love it. Love it. Thank you for sharing.
I'm sorry, what was the name of that school in Mexico? What did you call it?
It's Jim. It's excellent. It's Chip Connolly's Modern Elder Academy in Baja Cirque, Mexico. They have 500 plus alumni. It's a fantastic program, and that's going to be related to my niche as I move forward and launch my business. But yeah, definitely look into it. It's excellent. People from all over the world go.
Thanks.
Nice. Yeah, what pops up for me as you said that, so I know a lot of coaches, the nature piece, that kind of thing. I think about even the setting of where we sit when we work, because I'm very intentional with having a window that I can look out and see things. That, saw sandhill cranes walking by a little bit ago, that kind of thing. I also know coaches that will do coaching sessions on the phone with their client. They're in different parts of the world, and they both go for a walk. And they have the coaching session while they're walking. And there's science behind what that does for people in terms of getting them thinking and that kind of thing. And it's interesting because in some ways it's modeling, gee, what can I do to get myself reflecting?
Right. Well, this may be along the same lines, but more and more common are the stand-up desks. People are standing. So I've found that I've had more meetings standing up than sitting around the table. That seems to be an interesting dynamic to the conversation, and the focus focus actually is the conversation, it seems like. But I don't know if you guys work in offices where the desks now are more the stand-up version than the sit-down version. But that's changing up the whole dynamic to the meetings that happen in my space.
Yeah. Oh, Awesome. I have one that I have the choice. I can lift it up and stand up, or I can drop it down and sit. It's just just like a chair. You can raise it or lower it. Um, and I think it's awesome. And
Yep.
it changes your energy level, doesn't it?
Yeah, it totally does, especially after lunch.
There you go. That's awesome. Oh, go ahead, Kimberly.
No, I was just going to say that's great. Folks around me do have them. I haven't quite moved to it myself yet, but I probably should.
Yeah. Well, it's when you have one that, like I said, it literally goes up or down with a little lever, very much like a chair does. And it means I can go up or down with my desk as well. I love it. Yeah. So who has thoughts on meditation, yoga, journaling, or other ideas for your reflective practice?
Sorry, I don't do any of that. I just.
So what are your thoughts then, Jim, on it now being part of our competency model?
Well, I think it's a good idea because it would be a practice you'd want your clients to adopt. So, practice what you preach, right? You should at least try it and incorporate it. And then if you fail at it or struggle with it, then you're just that more empathetic to your clients who will have the same struggles.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Nice. Lynn, I love your comment. So yoga is wonderful. Unmute and come in and say more about that.
Oh, I just enjoy yoga.
Uh-huh.
Helps to just renew.
Do you do it
Okay.
with a goat? Do you do it with a goat? This seems
No, I tried doing it on my paddleboard, but ended up falling in.
That's awesome. So what is it about yoga that you love?
Oh, I just find it helps to stretch and reconnect and just overall beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Nice. Okay. So in keeping with, it sounds like for you, it's both reflecting and renewing for you. So I'm going to bring up the idea of renewing focus and energy. So a question for all of you, and please do jump in. What motivates you?
I'll just say connection, authentic connection.
Yeah, I love that.
I'd say feeling wanted. I'd much rather be pulled into help and service than push. So
Yeah. Jim, when you say that, I think about anytime I feel like I made a difference for somebody else in a good way. Oh my gosh, just lights my fire, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Lorene is sharing too. She said, oh, I think one was from our last conversation. She'll go into her garden and reflect. So that nature piece. And then now she's saying the real difference you can make in a person's life. So she's right in keeping with us. Kimberly's saying the same thing, that you love that. My guess is so many of us that come to the coaching world come with that desire to really be of service and to help and to make a difference for someone else. So for you personally, how will you energize? I know we're hearing yoga. What else, everybody? How will you energize?
I'll jump in. For me, learning through actually just taking action, getting in and practicing and doing the work energizes me. And I mean, what the key to that is really continued growth.
Yeah. Nice. I think about the work and the excitement of making a difference. And I'll share something else with everybody. One thing that energizes me is I play pickleball, and I'm not sure if anyone's heard of that game. It's so much fun. And so I really like the energy I
It's like
gain.
giant ping pong, isn't it? It's like a cross between ping pong and tennis.
Yes. Yes,
Okay. Yes.
it is. And yeah, whatever the type of exercise, it's getting out and being physically active and doing something. And it's the more I do it, the more energy I have. And then if things are crazy and whatever's happening, I can't get out there. After a little bit of time, I notice, okay, I'm not getting the exercise, and I start dragging. So good. Lorraine is saying she works in her garden and the world changes. Love that. That's so cool. I think so much of this goes back to the self-care. When you take care of yourself with time for yourself, with exercise, with what you eat, with getting enough sleep, all of that feeds your energy. And I think another fun piece of it, ICF did a conference several years ago, Science of Coaching, and they talked about laughter and humor and positivity, and they showed brain scans. And when somebody is down or sad or depressed, their brain function decreases. They're less able to think clearly and to really process. And then when there's laughter and humor and positivity, the brain function increases and all the neurons are firing. So when you look at the brain scans,
liver oil, not castor oil.
oh, it looks like we got Lorraine's microphone live now. Hi, Lorraine.
That was my husband you heard. Finally got on.
Yeah, he got you on. That's awesome.
Ask him to get me another cup of coffee that I can be energized.
That's another way to get energized. Yeah, love it. What else, everyone?
Well, I
I'm
typed
good.
in,
Oh,
sorry. I typed in, if we don't care for ourselves, we can't care for others. And I love what you said about laughter, because I believe it's like a medicine.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And Jim, what were you going to say?
well, I was saying next year, and we decided this as a team. I work remote 1 day a week, and but it usually gets eaten up with meetings and other kinds of things. So even though I'm not in the office per se, it's really not the most productive day. The goal is to just be remote, get time to think, reflect, catch up, think about the week ahead. And so
All of a sudden, it was like we lost you. You said reflect, catch up, think about the week ahead. And so
um,
was that your complete statement, Jim? Uh-oh. Not sure what happened to that microphone.
I was just saying, being more intentional about working remote and being remote from the day to day. So I have time to think and reflect, and block out time on my calendar, so it doesn't get eaten up by other meetings that creep in.
Yes. Yes. I love, and I actually consider that a tip in terms of renewing. So planning time for yourself. Jim, what you said, blocking time on your calendar. And I'm amazed when I talk to people, some people don't do that. And then the ones that do, and they talk about how important it is. And so it's like scheduling a meeting with yourself. So, okay, I've got this time scheduled. And if somebody wants that time, I can't just cancel the time I have scheduled for myself. I have to put it somewhere else. and having that commitment to yourself where you do plan that time. In addition to planning time for yourself, eating well and exercising, so important. Healthy boundaries are important. So let's get some of you jumping in. What are tips that you have for renewing focus, for renewing your energy? Lorena, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Well, this last year, I decided that I needed at least a 2-day respite for myself. And so I took all of my thoughts with me, unfortunately, but I went to a resort for 2 days and I was alone.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really knew that I was there. And I think that really helped me come back with a better attitude, and I could go again. So just one of those boundaries that I've set is I will take a 2-day just break from business, my family, and everything, and just go be by myself with my thoughts and renew my mind. And that's what really worked for me this last year with, taking on everybody's, well, I guess issues. It really helped me.
Oh, that's awesome. Love it. Love it. Love it. It reminded me of a time when I was in an executive position, and company policy was we were required to take 2 consecutive weeks of vacation once a year. And if you failed to take 2 weeks of vacation, it was what they call a fireable offense. They would terminate you. They were that serious about it. Yeah, Kimberly's like, I love that policy. Yeah. Isn't it fascinating that they mandate it and how many of us struggle with doing that? So go ahead, Jim.
Well, I work for a company with a similar policy. And I don't know the motivation behind your company's policy, but the benefit was everyone was required to take 2-week vacation, 2 consecutive weeks, like you said. But it was banking and finance. And so that came out of this tradition that if there was any fraudulent activity or financial transactions that were nefarious, that would be found out typically in a 2-week cycle. And so everybody in the banking was required to take 2 weeks off. But the company motivation was, it was a compliance issue to make sure that no nefarious actions were taking place, or they would be discovered usually in a 2-week time frame.
Interesting. Yeah, I was in a completely different industry. It was assisted living, actually. But yeah.
But it had the same benefit. Everyone was forced to take the 2 weeks, and it was great.
Yeah.
A little different in taking a 2-week vacation with family or friends, whatever, than just being with yourself and being able to reflect. And we're doing tips for renewing. And I really personally have never had that experience before by myself. And so it really changed my mindset and renewed my mind so that I could come back into, just a lot of coaching can be negative because they don't know the answers, and you have to, continually drive for the right answer. So I don't know, for me, myself, maybe it's just being a woman, but I really felt like that was something that really helped me get myself back on track instead of being lost in the fray of everybody's, stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that, because so many of us end up being in that role of focus on taking care of everybody else. And we forget to take care of ourselves. Yeah, nice. Lynn typed in, she's heard of a company that offers unlimited vacation time. Lynn, I've heard of that too, several companies, and basically the theory is as long as you get your job done, we don't care when you work.
Right. Yeah, I was amazed. That's what their policy is, and it seems to work.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. That's awesome. Okay. So let's talk about creating opportunities. And of course, the first question to all of you is, what do you want? Let's hear a few of you share. What do you want? It's funny, you're all coaches and you're used to asking your clients what they want. And now when I'm asking you what you want, I'm getting silence.
No one ever asked us.
Who's going to be brave and share here?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Really, to be the owner of my own time, and at this stage in my life, is really looking at the skill sets that I have and the wisdom that I have, and applying it in a way to be a coach that really helps people figure out what's best for them, and where their talents can really be leveraged to make a difference in this world.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Owner of your time, using your skill set, leveraging those talents. Nice. Rachel typed in, she's struggled with what she wants, so she ends up assessing what she doesn't want. And it's so interesting because we talk about, are we focused on what we're moving away from, or are we focused on what we're moving toward? Ultimately, our deal is knowing what we're moving toward. And Rachel, just as you're expressing here, for some people to get to that, they start with what they don't want. And then as coaches, we start exploring that because it serves them. And then we ask them what they do want instead to help them identify what they want. And some of you have heard me use the analogy. If I go into a travel agent and I say, okay, book me a vacation. And they say, where do you want to go? And I tell them all the places I don't want to go. Well, they can't book my vacation because they don't know where I'm going. And it's the same thing in our lives, in our careers, in whatever's going on. It's when we know where we want to go that we have the ability to design the path or the plan or the strategy or the actions to get there. What's that bringing up for everybody?
Well, because I can't really answer yet. When you ask a question, I'm thinking, I don't know what I want. I guess what I want is to get the answer to that question. Is that fair? What do I want?
Love it.
I want the answer to that question. I don't know. I have to do some more research and thinking.
Yeah, to identify it.
Right. So what I want is to know what I want.
There you go. So, Jim, let's have fun with that. This year, focus on identifying what you want. And then a year from now, when we have a similar conversation going, you can come in and share.
All right. That's good.
Awesome.
I'll
Love
take
it.
a year to do it.
There you go. Lorene shared she wants to launch your online coaching and to be successful. That's excellent. For those of you that did the CPC training, I think about that opening session where we ask clients what they want. We ask them what they want personally, professionally, in relationships, financially, with their health, with their lifestyle. We go into all different areas. And there's so many different things. And at the same time, they're all interconnected. Okay. So if you want to create opportunities for yourself, of course, a big part of it is, like you're saying, Jim, identifying what it is you want. So what are some tips for this? Ask for support. It's funny to me, back to the whole self-care and that kind of thing. So many of us are here wanting to offer support. We have a hard time asking for it. And then I think about this. I think, okay, I like helping people. It feels good to make that positive difference to somebody. And if I'm not willing to let somebody else help me and make a positive difference for me, then I'm not letting them have what I want myself. I'm literally saying, no, you can't help me. You can't support me because I'm going to help you and support you. And then I'm taking away from them something that may be very important to them. And so that awareness that asking for help and asking for support, it helps us, and it's a good thing for the other person too. I think a big one is identifying influencing factors, because so many of us, for example, even just the goals you're setting of launching your business or launching into online coaching and wanting success in those places. What are the influencing factors? Is there fear of failure, fear of success? How does confidence play into this? What are the considerations you have in terms of time and money and who's involved and what you're doing and what your knowledge base is? All of that plays in to what happens. And creating opportunities takes being courageous, willing to take risks, willing to step out there. So, thoughts, additions to these tips for creating opportunities?
Yeah, I'd say yes, step out of your comfort zone and do something different. It just opens up opportunities, doorways, connections to other people. Good things come from it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Another thing that's coming to mind for me, I think about the shift from being in a job to having my own business. And one of the things that went through my head is, okay, when I have a job, I work really hard for somebody else and I do a good job for them. And I really support the success wherever I'm working. What's the reason I can't do that for myself? And so launching into the business, it's that idea of, okay, if I can do it for somebody else, I can do it for myself too. Kimberly typed in, yes, exactly. Trying to get fully there. Nice.
I would like to ask a question.
Sure.
You said ask for support. And my question, my question is, my whole life I have been a support for my family and others, and that's been my life. So I have trouble asking for support for me personally. So anybody have any suggestions on how you change from all these years of support, being the support system for others, into being a support system for yourself? That's why I took that 2-day kind of mini vacation.
Mm-hmm.
But my mind, because I'm a mom.
Yeah. And a grandma, right?
Well, and a great grandma. Yeah, all these years, these 77 years, I've support for everyone, perhaps except for myself, because that's kind of how I was trained.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know how to do that unless I lock myself in a room and just have quiet time by myself. So I haven't learned that.
Yeah. So two things are coming to mind as you're saying that. One is uh, the reality that we teach other people how to treat us. In other words, the way we treat them and the way we behave and the way we respond to them teaches them how to be with us. And so my guess is, like many other people in similar positions, you've taught people around you to know that you're the support. And that leads me to the second thing that I'm thinking, and that's to sit down and have a conversation with them and say to them, hey, for this many years, I've worked so hard to support all of you. And now I'm discovering that I really am looking for support too.
That's a great idea.
What other thoughts are other people having?
I was thinking to start small and be very specific in where you want the support. Like, to say I need support, that's pretty broad, right? And pretty undefined. And if it's not something you're used to accepting or asking of others, it's not going to happen overnight. So just decide, this is a specific area where I'm willing to give up some control, or at least be open to some support, and be very clear and specific about it, and start small, and then ask from that space, and then kind of grow from there.
I like that.
That's a good suggestion, because I don't really allow people to help, because that's how I was brought up. You do it all yourself. So I think I'll start assigning some things to other people, especially as we become group coaches. I won't take on all of the responsibilities that I always do. I'll just say, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. We'll see how that goes. I'll report to you next year how it goes.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Yeah. And I'm imagining that conversation with these other coaches you're going to work with, saying, okay, this is what I can do. Here's the other task that will remain. Who can handle what?
Exactly.
Nice. Nice. Okay. So we've got a few minutes left. Let's start pulling this together. So think about what happens in the flow of so many of our coaching conversations. We ask our clients, what do you want? We ask them how they will measure success, what it means to them, what might get in the way, what resources will they use, what their strategies are, their action plan, and we have them describe their desired outcome. Of course, there's a lot more that happens. This is kind of a foundational piece. Here's my challenge to each and every one of you. Sit down with that list of questions and answer them. Who's up for that challenge? Raise your hand, respond, something. Who's up for it?
Kathy, you faded out when you were asking that question of us. Just the very end, I didn't get it.
So my challenge to all of you is to sit down with this list of questions and answer them for yourself. And then my question to you is, who is up for that challenge? Raise your hand, type yes, say something. Who's going to take that challenge? Got a couple.
I will.
All right, awesome. So I'm getting some yeses, some typed in, some hands up. This is good. This is good. Okay, so application out of what we're talking about today. Reflecting is truly an opportunity. Renewing yourself is essential. And you're going to create opportunities through awareness, which comes from reflecting and renewing. Of course, you've got lots of resources that support you: the International Coach Federation, the Center for Coaching Certification, the Center for Coaching Solutions. And I know you're familiar with the websites. I'll throw those up really quickly. Do come and take advantage of those opportunities. We also put out a blog twice a week. Love it if you want to guest blog and be part of that. We publish a book once a year, working hard on this year's book now. And if you want to be a part of that, let me know. And of course, we will continue to offer these free webinars. And if you ever want to be a guest presenter, I love hosting guest presenters. So we get wisdom from a wide range of people. Do want to be available to all of you for a quick check-in, whether you want to call or send an email. We, of course, offer outsourcing in terms of coaching programs, training, and coaches. For those of you that are here, if you want to ask about any of those resources, let me know. We'll set up a 30-minute conversation for you. In the meantime, for yourself, what is your action plan? So think about going back to your coach training materials and reviewing them for yourself. Think about getting intentional with how you're applying your skills. If you've done just the first CPC level of training, go on and complete your training so you can join the ICF and really be involved in terms of being a coach. Think about engaging a coach for yourself, or many of you, trading services with colleagues is a great idea. And then, of course, if you want support for a coaching program. I am happy to hang around afterwards. I know we've used our time, so if you want to stay for additional questions, I'm happy to do that. In the meantime, I do want to say thank you to all of you for being here. So appreciate your investment of time and your engagement in the conversation. And of course, happy to be available to you. So let us know how we can support you and what else we can do to be helpful. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kathy.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. And for those of you that have additional questions, what else can I answer for you? Okay, so it looks like we are good and complete. So thank you all so much. Appreciate having you here.